Hey, folks. We're excited to be back. Thanks for following us over from Real Progressives. I'm sure we'll be dealing with some viewers here in a second. David Strider here. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Yes, thank you all for following us over. One of the things that I would like to say at this time is there are people within the different parties, national parties, that really are trying to make a difference. I don't want to pigeonhole them in any way, shape, or form. But what I want to do is let everyone know that the DNC's court case in the 2016 primary basically said that they could take our votes and use them the way they wanted, to choose who they wanted. It doesn't matter what the people said, it's what they wanted. So we figure that Club DNC doesn't need my membership at all. That's why dim exit, hashtag dim exit. I'm like I said, I know people in both parties, and they're good people, good morals. They don't follow the party line. They're trying to change within. You can't change within as long as the leadership is also corrupt. I encourage you to find progressives in your area, independents that are actually fighting and walking the line of you, their constituents. At any time, should I say something that is not part of your beliefs, I'd like to know. One thing I do not want to do is offend you, but I will always speak the truth. I'm not going to give special interest groups more rights than what you or I have. Our rights are the same. My rights are your rights. Your rights are my rights. And by no way should anything ever be taken away from us, no matter what your beliefs are, as long as it's not spewing hate. If it goes along the hate group, I know we don't have anything in common. But I'd like to think that we could join as a nation, as a state, and take care of these problems that are hurting our nation. I'm looking forward to any questions and answers that you may have. So here I am in Tacoma today. I am going to be the next U.S. Senator representing the people of Washington, but I need your help. Your help comes in the form of volunteering to phone bank, to pass out information, to share videos that we produce, to share our website, but we also need your financial support. And you can go to our Dave Strider for USSenate.com, and there will be provided a link for you to use to help us in whichever way you can. In your comment section, don't worry so much about the issues if you're wanting to volunteer your time and efforts to the campaign, because soon enough, I'll hear them face to face. And that's what I want to do in the state of Washington. I want to meet each and every constituent. I want to meet each and every voter within our state and hear their concerns. I want to be able to react immediately to what they have said or asked of me. Again, I won't be granting any special favors. If it doesn't suit the neighbor across the street or across the state, I can't give that special favor to you. But I will stand with you. But no special favors, please don't ask. That's like super PACs. They give money, no problem. But then they come back and say, we sure would like to see this done. What I see done for America is our infrastructure, putting people back to work. And it's just not digging ditches. It's making our infrastructure the best in the world. It's giving people excellent paying jobs. I think that our healthcare, I've mentioned this before, it's on my website. You have a social security card, don't you? Think about that and how you're tied into the federal system with that social security card and state and local organizations. I also want you to think about wars for profit. What's being done to the veterans? Our senior citizens having to choose between medicine or food. Those are things that are out there. Our education system is deteriorating faster than we can plug the hole in the dam. We need to reinvent our education system, and I know educators across this country. And those educators are sound in their delivery. Those people, I'm hoping, will also push the education issue. Let me be your voice. We have our military. It's kind of overblown right now. We have the largest army to the next 8 nations. And when you think about it, if we're big enough, if we're greater than the next 8 nations, what do those poor other countries have to do? Nothing. I think that our position is unfounded. We already have a treaty with states and countries in that area should North Korea get belligerent. We already have in place safeguards to protect our allies. This pompous attitude and parade of might only leads to war. I think that our administration needs to back down. Let some of the local powers that support influence North Korea in the direction that they take as far as spouting aggression. They can be hateful all they want toward our nation, but please, please, let's work together. Let's find common ground. We're not asking North Korea to do anything that gives up their sovereignty. We're just asking them to think about their people and the people that they would hurt should they attack. Syria. Why the hell are we in Syria? We have no business there. Why are we in Iraq? We have no business there. Why are we sending more troops to Afghanistan? We have no business there. Plain and simple. Bin Laden is dead. ISIS was formed by our own government to combat Al-Qaeda and the Syrian regime. We need to stop those kind of actions in the guise of secrecy or allowing our government to endorse and get other nations to also. If you look at where the oil pipelines are suggested to go, Syria happens to be one of the pathways that the 1% want. If it were not for the allegiance between Syria and Russia, we would already have troops on the ground in Syria. Trust me. We did it in Iraq. And we would use the term, they gassed their own people. Where did they get the gas? Probably from the United States military with coordination through the U.S. State Department and or the CIA. Weapons of mass destruction, how do we know that with Saddam Hussein? Because we had sold them to him for use against Iran. And you can ask the Iranian people how much gas they received. Our stand against why are we embargoing them? Why are we stopping trade with a people who have not done anything to us? We invaded them at the Bay of Pigs, a failed coup d'etat by our government using Cuban nationals to retake their country back from Fidel Castro. People, we need to understand what has happened in the past so that we don't create the same mistake in the future. And that's why I'm here, to give you that voice, that strength, that knowledge and commitment, conviction, even my life, to make sure that we stay a republic and not an empire. As a United States Marine Corps veteran, I cannot stand for any more wars, especially wars for money. I put my glasses on now. That glare, reflection, you'll see it here in just a second. See that glare? Yeah. It was blinding me. And so I wanted to make sure. We have some people here that have shared the video. Thank you so very much. Am I a Justice Democrat? I'm an independent. I speak only for the people. The voice that I hear, it conveys through my messages to the people of Washington and those family that I have here in the United States and around the world. I hope that answered your question there, Tyler. But I do have experience in military justice, and the sad thing is, we shouldn't have to worry about our laws. Our laws should be written so that we, as people, should be able to understand it. Our children going through high school should be able to read our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, our Declaration of Independence, but most important, the laws that our congressmen and senators write. We need to take out all the legalese things and just plain and simple amendments and laws so that all can understand. We don't need an attorney to interpret what is our right, period. And welcome some of the other people that have joined us. Your questions and the fact that so many of you are sharing it now, I so appreciate that. We are a self-funded candidacy. I'm a disabled veteran, and it is your support that will take this voice, your voice, our voice, to our nation's capital. No, this is not my Marco Rubio moment. I would like to read some more of the comments. Oh, yes, I agree with you, Tyler, on that. I'd like to repeat your comment. It says, I meant that the Justice Dems that former Bernie campaign advisors and the Young Turks are forming, their goal is to evict the corporate wing of the party. Well, it seems how I'm not a Democrat anymore, but an independent. I wholeheartedly support that comment that you made, Tyler, because that is what I want to do too. I want to get the money out of politics, and those people who are taking corporation money and not listening to their constituents who put them there, they forgot. They are public servants, and they have to go back and realign. And we, as the constituents, the voters, we need to make sure that people are going there to do our will. Our will is making sure that justice for all. And we're not getting that right now. Thank you for the comment, Tyler. I have water for hydration. I have 2 cups of coffee here. One that's 2 years old, or two hours old, and one that is fresh. Both of them have the same amount of caffeine in it that I need.
So here's some important questions about economics that we're still working on.
What is my opinion on the view for spending for the public good? That's foremost. public over military and corporate donations or tax breaks to a class of people who have no need for the money, don't spend the money, they hoard the money. I mean, you'll just look at your wallet and you can see where the baskets of money are going. But we need to stop those austerity moments, okay? I agree with that. Thank you, Pamela, on that comment. We need to stop it, okay? And true progressives, independent thinkers, people not loyal to the party, we need that. We need those kind of people deciding those issues for us. Rob Baxter asks a question. He says, I'm curious, are you at all familiar with the modern monetary theory? It has been mentioned several times, Rob. And the second part explains how universal health care, free college, education, green energy, which I'm a big proponent of green energy, alternative forms other than fossil fuels, better infrastructure, et cetera, could be paid for. And yes, my platform talks about how we can pay for these things. The MMT, however, I would like to take some time before I formulate my absolute standing on that. But I will say that my platform does show how that money can be reallocated from the current spendings. More on that later, if that's all right with you, sir. Almost FDR minded, Tyler. I consider that a compliment because it's all about us, the people. We have become downtrodden, so to speak, economically deprived and put into an economic slave bin, only at the will of the companies that we work for, the corporations that we work for, the right to work, the right to fire at any given moment. We have to subjugate ourselves to accepting what they're willing to pay us, even though our cost of living and the inflationary part of our money is killing us. And so we need to make sure that we have all a fair shot. I mean, I came out of retirement, sir, and my coming out of retirement, yeah, I was okay. But remember that when they came after the Serbs, I didn't say too much because it wasn't me. Okay, so the thing is, I came out because I felt compelled to get this message out and to have people, young people from all generations, all walks of life, to also sit back and look at where we're going and where we can go. Visit my website, Dave Strider for USSenate.com. Leave your detailed comment on what you want, and I assure you that it will be responded to. But I find that a compliment because that's where Social Security began with FDR. And Aaron makes the comment, you need to understand how to pay for policies you promote. You're absolutely right. First of all, I'm going to take it away from the military-industrial complex and the billionaires who are receiving tax breaks that they have no business getting. When we fund and give tax breaks to the Walmart family, and they are paying their people so low and not giving them full-time hours, and also using food stamp dollars to help them pay for the food that they get, and to pretty much have no rights, the deterioration of our unions across this country, which gave us the 40-hour work week, which gave us a fair average, which gave us child labor laws, which gave us so many things, healthcare, family leave, and all this, things that we take for granted. If you are not aware of what unions have actually done for you, yes, they have stood their ground, and in many cases, really upset a lot of people. Ronald Reagan disbanded the aircraft union that were our air traffic controllers. I remember that, okay? And that was the biggest strike against union organization that our nation had seen in a very, very long time. Um, we had people coming back from WW2, and they were put back to work. Our economy was geared up. We were geared up to resupply the world and rebuild the world. We were not hit by bombs and the war itself. Countless men and women in that struggle. But those who came back, the survivors who came back, and the people who helped provide that supply line for our men and women in uniform to fight the tyranny that we had exhibited, we built the middle class. Then we got a president like Dwight D. Eisenhower, who helped start the infrastructure. He was a Republican, but he was very progressive in his thinking. After all, he did destroy the Nazi war machine as far as his working together, and we had a little tsunami there. But we need to think about what we have done, that was good, and we need to shed off the bad. And if we hold on to a little bit of the bad, we're not going to survive. We're not going to succeed in what we need to do, and that is to return our government to the people, for the people, and by the people. Let's see here. Next,
This is the next comment.
okay. Pamela. Monetary sovereignty says we don't need to take it
From the military.
that we can fund single payer now. Well, I had mentioned that you have a Social Security card, don't you?
Well,
that is your tie-in to universal health care. And it says right here, single payer now, federal job guarantee, etc. There's not enough training going into the technology.
Without having to move money around.
Without having to move money around is absolutely correct. And it shouldn't have to be that way. It's just that they are funded. When they come into existence, these organizations, they are given a budget. And but let me continue, because what you've said a lot here, and I really appreciate that, Pamela. I really appreciate that.
We should reject military spending based on on the endless wars.
Yeah. Because
of morality, not because of affordability.
Right, and I agree that on that military spending that we have right here. Let me read that in complete. Now we should reject military spending and endless wars because of morality, not because of affordability. If it does not affect our nation's interest in any way, shape, or form, Syria does not affect our nation's interest. North Korea does not affect our nation's interest and the survivability of our nation. Those would be wars that we do not need. Stance on job guarantee. Well, I think unions pretty much work on making sure that when you enter the job and you become that, and you go through that trial period, there is a 90-day trial period in a lot of employment. I know, I've worked in those situations. This right here tells I've got a little bit of experience with that. And sometimes you make it and sometimes you don't.
It's not
but everyone who is seeking work needs to be able to get that work, and work that will give them the ability to provide for their needs and their family needs. As far as what the rate is and everything, I said to provide for their families and their needs. And by doing so, they also are planning their future. That's what employment is about. I fully appreciate your sharing. Tyler, you've been quite a contributor today, and thank you so much, sir. You state that I fully agree and appreciate you sharing this outstanding public service. Maybe get in touch with Brand New Congress or our revolution for possible help to get your name out. Best of luck. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Tyler.
Just a should I make a side note?
Yeah.
Just a side note. We've already applied, I've already nominated David through Brand New Congress. I'm actually, I don't know if I actually completed the process for our revolution, but thanks for the reminder, Tyler.
Yes. Your contributions have been well received from this end of this camera. Very much so. Thank you. I appreciate that. And now it's written in stone forever. Nanobits have saved this whole this string. Thank you, Tyler. Enter Zionism, downhill for U.S. Shed Zionism. It's smoldering the good and just paths of the United States. The aggression against Palestine is unwarranted and is it's criminal, period. We took and prosecuted Nazi war criminals, fascist criminals. We prosecuted them in the world court. Many of them received the death penalty. Some of them received life imprisonment. I think that what they're doing in Palestine is atrocious to the human race, not just to the Palestinian people. It just so happens that that's the town they're hitting. They're hitting our neighbors in Palestine. Those people that are living in Palestine had a beautiful country before all of this garbage with Zionism started. The taking and securing what they consider the holy lands, God-given. Well, they seem to forget. They seem to forget many things. They were supposed to be that light. Israel was supposed to be that light to the world. And they have taken up the sword, and that sword will destroy them. I do not support Zionism. I do not support the atrocities that are being committed against Syria. I do not support the atrocities being committed in Lebanon or Syria or Jordan or any other country to secure the Israel state. The people of Israel themselves will secure it with just leaders as well as compassion for their neighbors who may not be as fortunate. That is the light, not war. And Pamela, yes, no more endless wars. Gretchen, thank you for your comment. Carmen, I will say this to you. My campaign manager and current chief of staff, Greg, will look into your comment and follow up with you. As well, Barb, I have to say, I'm giving it to my campaign manager and my chief of staff, who educates me and keeps me current of issues that I may not catch during the daily feeds. Our environment cannot stand it. Our climate cannot stand it, Gretchen. Every bomb dropped is hazardous material. There are bombs in Cambodia that are left to be discovered and or, as well in Laos, bombs that have not been discovered, bombs that are intermittently maiming people and killing people, people who are trying to farm in their rice paddies or their farming or their animals walk into a minefield that was dropped by B-52 bombs, U.S. bombs. So, I mean, yes, it's polluting our environment and we need to stop it, and people need to stop dying from unexploded ordnance left over from the Vietnam. So think about Iraq, Afghanistan, the bombs that probably did not explode. They're finding them in London to this day. My opponent and your prospects for unseating them. My opponent is an incumbent. There may be other challengers, but my incumbent is a two-term senator, Maria Cantwell. The people of Washington don't really care too much for Maria, but she's been the only choice. And now, with my not being in the Democratic Party, not being a Republican, but an independent, so that the people, the voice of the people, are heard. I don't take corporate money. Maria does. I don't listen to corporations, but Maria does. I'm not saying that corporations are bad, but when they use their influence to influence the elected official that is representing the people without any consideration except their own dollar, then that politician has no business representing the people of Washington and making decisions that affect the entire country as well as portions of the world we live in. So I'm against Maria Cantwell. Read her platform versus mine. And like Hillary, she'll probably change a lot of her stuff to mirror my campaign. Good for her because she doesn't know how to walk the talk. And let's move on to the next question. Navy could do great wind and ocean power work, helping the climate change. Yes, I agree. The United States Navy is one of the most technically advanced units in our country, partly because of the money that we provide them. I have no problems with a strong Navy and the research that they do, because it is through their research, it's through the organizations like the Veterans Administration. The reason we have now aids to help stop smoking. The Nicoderm patch was developed by the Veterans Administration. And I think that there are organizations out there, some of the brightest young doctors come out of the VA and or prior military service. So yes, I think the United States Navy, instead of bombing places, sending Marines to shore to secure a base, I think we could do a lot of technologically sound things as far as exploration of the oceans, decontamination of the oceans, and we could use our United States Armed Forces to help us with that endeavor. And the United States Navy has hands above the rest. Let's see here. Next question. Immersion in the military could save jobs, and yes, they have awesome science. Yes, they do, Gretchen. I think that if the military and groups like the Air Force, which are doing high altitude testing, and the Navy, which is also doing deep sea testing and exploration, I think that those two units stand out in regards to scientific endeavors that could be accomplished by redirecting their purpose as far as, instead of bombing or whatever, destroying something, but exploring and developing a new platform that we can, as a civilization, as humanity, can move forward. We are a very warlike planet at this time. And if there is such a thing as life outside this solar system, we need to be able to communicate to a way that we don't get zapped, like Mars attacks Earth. Okay, I don't know how else to explain it. We have in our nation's capital right now, we have theater comedy. I mean, when a sitting senator or a congressman can get up there and say that wind towers are going to stop the wind from blowing, or that solar panels are sucking in the sun, yeah, I get excited about this, but that's the passion. It's the passion of the idiocracy that is going on in our nation's capital. And people who elected them are eating it up. We need to get away from that. We need to get back to the truth, plain and simple. And that's the only way that we can survive. That's the only way that we can move forward as a nation and as a people, is getting rid of all the frivolous things that are going on in our capital. I would sure like to have a jobs bill instead of somebody naming a post office, okay, or putting a statue up. I would much rather them see what they're doing about universal health care for all, single payer. Why are we not addressing that? Is because of their lobby influence, the corporate influence, the money that pours into our Congress and Senate. Yeah, it needs to stop, or we're not going to get anything like that. We're not going to get any results. And that's why I'm going to Washington, people. That's why I need your help. Okay. Yes, go future Navy. Tyler, you feel the Dems as they stand are a sinking ship and a new independent party is the only solution? Well, I don't know that it's so much as a party. I think it's the independent thought that will eventually win out. Uh, I think that the Democratic Party, as we know it, is gone. I don't support it. Uh, but I think it's the independent thought from individuals that are here in this thread right now. Though you guys, you're all the future. I mean, your independence, your thinking. Uh, we could have a coalition as far as independence party. We could, but we would also have to make sure that the coalition is based on the people's voice, not the coalition's voice, but the people's voice. Let's see, some more questions here. They're starting to scroll pretty fast. Thank you all for your responses here. I so appreciate that. I hope I answered your so needed, what are you willing to say question, Gretchen. I hope I answered that question. If not, please reiterate that for us. And Barbara, I agree with what you're saying here in a sense, but I've given my response on the MMT.
And also, just ask her if she would educate you.
But the important thing is, okay, because I am not learned in the MMT, would you share us links on our website?
The basics.
So that we need to know the basics to get us started, to help me, the candidate, understand.
Not just for you, but anyone else that's
on. And as Greg here mentioned too, anyone who is tying into this is a little, who don't know much about the MMT, that they also have a chance to see as well. And if you could do that for us here while we're in this thread, that would be phenomenal, because this way we are sharing our knowledge. My plan for medical, I give it to you in a nutshell right here. You have a Social Security card, right? Okay. People after 1980 are pretty much issued a Social Security card at death. That Social Security card ties you into every federal thing, because that's what you got to use to get services. They identify you by that number. That number, when you go to your doctor, you go there, you present that number, you receive care. You don't worry about payment or anything else. Those figures we can all work out together later. But when 350 million Americans get into the healthcare will finally be affordable for every one of us. But you have your Social Security card, which ties you into the Medicare system. Okay, single payer, Medicare, single payer. And we can talk more about that as we move along. Ending hunger was practically eradicated in the 70s. That's when farms were productive. That's when farms weren't in debt. That's when we had family-owned farms. And the 70s were a good time until I remember before I left deployment overseas, I could buy an acre of rural land out in farm country. I could buy 1 acre for $100. I came back 1 year later, the price had gone up to over $1,000 to $1,500. There goes my self-sustaining lifestyle. No garden, no pig, no way to grow any food at all. Sierra Denton, what is my plan for medical? I mentioned this earlier, Sierra in regards to that, and that is, I see I answered your question. But no, we're all tied into the Medicare system, even at birth. Here comes a good question. Platform posted. I believe it's posted on our Facebook page. We're still working on some of the individual positions on that, but you can come to our Facebook, Dave Strider for U.S. Senate, and see some of the platform and positions that we've already stated. We are adding to that as we go. The reason we're out here campaigning now is local elections recently had a primary, and so rather than get out there during the local primary and confuse the electorate, we wanted the people who were seeking local elections and council, education, mayoral ports, and things like that. It was not confused. My campaign was not confused with that. They're holding a general election here in November, but my incumbent is two-term, and I need to get that word and the message out now. High-income earners paid a lot in taxes back in the 60s and 70s. My grandfather said 75% plus in taxes on his earned income. No complaints. Donated his only home with my grandmother to the park services. Thank you, sir, for doing that. Not for me, but for those people who actually are able to be close by to understand what you did for them. Hats off to your family in that regards. A lot of things have happened via that generosity, and I applaud your grandfather. But yes, Carmen, go to my Facebook, Dave Strider for U.S. Senate, and also the .com. We're continually updating both sites so that that can be done. Well, I think the people in the local 27th district, they were wanting to make sure that there was no contest against Maria Cantwell, because they already had one local Dem that they were leaning toward. And not to say that the person that was the other Dem that was running in the primary against Cantwell, I'm not saying anything bad about the candidate who is running against Cantwell, that's a Dem. But if I'd stayed in the Democratic Party, it had been a three-way primary with the two highest vote getters, regardless of party, moving on to the general election. I wanted to separate myself, especially after the news that we heard yesterday in regards to the court hearing and dismissing the DNC fraud suit. I wanted to make perfectly clear that my ties with the Democratic Party were completely severed. As I mentioned, there are also those people that I have met and have talked with in great detail who are very passionate. They have an independent, even though they're working on the Democratic platform, they're still progressives in the pure sense. It's just that they've attached themselves to that party. Whether they'll leave that party after what happened yesterday, I do not know.
Give them a lot of questions real quick. So do you know that federal taxes don't fund spending?
I'd like to think that my taxes take care of everything. The fees that we pull in, for import-export fees.
So in other words, no, not for
but I'm just telling you what I think now, which means that I didn't answer your question, but you heard what I think, that our taxes and fees should be funding everything within our federal government from the state to local level.
But if they're not, that's news to you.
But if, yeah, and as my campaign manager, as Greg, you mentioned, he says, evidently they're not. And so that's something that you need to change.
No, not change. Something you need to look into. Part of modern monetary theory.
Change for me is my becoming more knowledgeable so that I can have a form of attack to change anything that is bad. Mind you, this is only our third video, and this right here is all things that I want to get out to you. And if sometimes I do not answer questions, I want you to push that question into my campaign, whether it's here at the Facebook account or at our .com. I want you to push that issue toward me so that I can educate myself better and understand what your question was. See here. Oh,
Looks like we missed a question here from someone asking about your expertise. And what are your particular areas of interest?
my particular areas of interest right now is making sure that my grandchildren don't have to suffer like the people are suffering today. No child should be hungry. No child should be left behind. They should receive a great education. They should be able to plan for their future, and they should be safe in their neighborhoods. I'm a grandfather, and I have children. And I know that my friends, they have children. They have parents. They have families. I know people that I don't know. I mean, people on the street. I mean, you see the crowds on the street. So you know a crowd, but you don't know their lifestyle. But don't you want the same for them? Fair, affordable housing, the ability to work, the ability to reach out to their families when their family members become hit by a catastrophic event. I mean, you want to be able to act as a community. Here this past summer, my neighbors and I, we've been living in the same neighborhood, same street for 3 years. And it was this year we decided that we're going to take on a little project. And that project was putting fences around our property, updating our property and increasing the value and the comfortability of our property all along the same lines. And what came out of that is we worked as a team. We worked as long as we had materials for this neighbor. And when we ran out of that, we moved to the next neighbor until we had no materials for that place either. And we keep doing that and doing that and doing that. And the progress that we have made this summer, we are going to celebrate by having a great big party for our street so that we can enjoy what we've come to. It's become part of us, our neighborhood. And it's a great neighborhood. And, you know, I'm not saying my neighborhood is better than anyone else, but I can't see leaving the people that I'm around right now. I mean, they're family, they're great friends. We have unity, we work together. I mean, we understand each other's needs as far as what they're wanting to get done in their project, and we work together and are getting it done. Let's see. The Electoral College needs to be done away with. Donald Trump played the Electoral College. He played it, and he won. He went into areas where he knew he couldn't get the whole state, but he knew that he could get the electoral vote, which gave him the electoral victory. So yes, superdelegates as well, because that destroyed the Democratic Party, and especially with the results of the DNC dismissal in court yesterday. Let's see here. The Texas did improve on social programs and things are healthier. Yes, and it's to get ourselves a healthy economy, because if our economy is in the crapper, we're not going to be able to get anything done for anyone. We're going to have people going hungry. We're going to have people going without health care. We're going to have people just go into the shadows because our elected officials, okay, that's what they are, elected officials. They're not servants of the people. I am a servant to my constituents. I am a servant to the people of Washington. And they don't have that. But yes, when the government thinks about everyone, it'll be their choice whether or not they participate. But no one should go hungry. No one should go without a home. No one should be freezing to death on the streets of our cities in the dead of winter. Children should not be hungry because when they go to school because they have nothing at home to eat. Think about it. Well, please continue to go to our website, leave your comments. We've been on here quite a while, and we'd like for you all we thank you for coming by and contributing your thoughts, your hopes, and some of your fears. We appreciate that. We ask you to continue following us. Go to our .com, where here within the week we're going to put a calendar as to when we're going to be broadcasting. Please join us. My campaign needs help. If you can contribute your time or your money, no matter how much, please do that. Dave Strider for USSenate.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Good day.